Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to a Casual Lorechat number 28. I am the White Guar. I will be your host this evening. Please keep all arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times, and please refrain from staring into the sales phone. Everything's 1999. I've only seen one question for this cast, so we'll see where that goes. And I mean, the nice thing about having very few questions is we can get off the rails, and it's not a big deal because we don't really have other things to get to.
Nice relaxed fit podcast today.
Yeah. So Silverama from the Discord, he asks, could there be more than 8 Adric planets?
I mean, shit, probably.
In Mundus's system, maybe not. Like in the immediate system surrounding Nirn, but maybe outside of that. Maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, man. You go ahead.
No. You go ahead. While you talk, I'm gonna go get beer.
That's a great plan.
Yeah.
So I had an idea once that basically Nirn is part of a fractal system, more or less. We have the 8 divines going in a particular sequence around Nirn as the orbis. I'm not wording very well, I apologize. As the orbis itself is one part of a further 8 versions of itself going around and so on and so on, which was an interesting idea. I don't think it had any legs to actually stand on, but
I certainly don't think I've heard of it before.
Yeah, somewhere on Reddit probably.
And it's an interesting idea.
I mean, it certainly could be an interesting interpretation of what the wheel actually is.
It's an aesthetically interesting idea. Like, it feels numerologically satisfying, I guess. But whether or not that actually works completely, don't know. But artistically, nice.
I love the nose on this.
Yes.
Today I have, an aged in rye whiskey barrels. It's called Gentleman's Club by Widmer Brothers. It's an old-fashioned style ale. And it smells fantastic.
Smells like hops and chocolate.
Well, it's got a little more of that kind of almost caramely kind of scent you get from barrel aging. Just from that process, it adds a complex sort of. I mean, caramel is the best way I can describe it, but it's really not caramel.
So it's not necessarily like burnt sugar, but more.
No, it's
more depth,
and it's not quite a sweetness either. It's like a warm kind of. It kind of reminds me of like warm apple pie a little bit, I guess. Sort of like you get the apple pie a la mode or whatever. It's kind of got some of that. And this is it just says it's 90% ale brewed with cherries, lemons, and oranges, and aged in rye whiskey barrels, and 10% ale. Yeah, so I mean that kind of sweetness that well, not really sweetness, that depth that comes from barrel aging, like it's pretty common across the board, and I love it.
So I do have some thoughts on the Adric planets thing.
I would love to hear it.
So this is a subject of interest for me. You all know that I'm pretty crazy about space lore. So the trick is Adric. So to be an Adra is to be our ancestors, which is to be one of the spirits that helped to create Mundus, of which there are 8 major ones. There might be minor ones, potentially. Ifri could, well, I don't know. Ifri's kind of different because Ifri is like the primal earthbone. But
yeah,
I would argue that rather than Adric planets, that there are the remnants of Attic spirits. Because if you really read closely through things like the monomyth, you get the sense that there's more than Adra, there's more than Daedra. There were Attic spirits that were kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a section in monomyth that says that they ebbed and flowed, and some of them stopped existing. And since all Attic spirits are on some level planets or planes, those remnants should be out there.
Yeah.
And that's where I get in my idea for my space lore is that there are the remnants of Ada that didn't make it. So there's quote unquote planetary or asteroid bodies out in oblivion.
Yeah. See, I like the
I can see
asteroid.
that.
I like the asteroid thing. Just giant kind of near planet sized asteroids, just kind of listing lazily through the void of oblivion. Just it passes through. There's the fields of regret. Oh, okay, it's gonna keep going.
Yeah. And I would fully expect to see comets, or the Arbic version of comets. I'd have to lore that one, but I would totally expect all that
meteorites
stuff.
are definitely a thing, so
Yeah,
they've got to come from somewhere.
yeah.
And of course the Mannonauts and the Second Empire had an empire across the stars. So it's entirely possible you could go out there and find those asteroids, and you might find an old Mannonaut base.
Yeah. So I think what I would kind of in my visualization of this is that a lot of these asteroids, these comets, whatever, they might maintain like some and anyone familiar with like Bayonetta?
Not
Yes.
particularly.
So
Only a little.
So the enemies in Bayonetta, they're all different kinds of angels. And they've got this sort of aesthetic where it's lots of wings, lots of like cherub faces, just in weird, like there's a baby face and the mouth opens and like a dragon comes out and it's got its own face. And then there's like 8 wings coming out the side of it or something like that, just weird. Yeah. I imagine that kind of thing. And if you've ever read like Kill 6 Billion Demons, where when they're at Throne, that central hub of the 777 universes, there are these giant statues that are just they literally are dead gods, seated and wilting away. So something like combine those two together and then mush them into an asteroid, and that's kind of what I see. These spirits that no longer really exist or care or whatever. Yeah, I mean that's
Well,
kind of
another thing I could see working for this sort of thing is just planets made out of congealed leftover creatia, like whatever wasn't used in the creation of Nirn ended up coalescing into basically dead planets that just sort of float aimlessly.
The afterbirth of the universe.
See, I can see that, but my ideas of Hermaeus Mora preclude that.
Mm.
Hermaeus Mora is the cutting room floor. He is all the things that were left behind in the creation of the Arbus of Mundus.
Yeah, I've got an idea that makes Hermaeus Mora a bit older than that.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, this is entirely unfounded, but I like the idea that Hermaeus Mora came into being when Anuiel and Sithis came into being. Like, he's the reflection of their ability to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
And with thinking comes knowledge. So with Anu and Padme being primal forces, not necessarily sentient beings, he couldn't exist then, but he then came into being when they started to think.
No.
I just like that idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's no
I like that too.
There's no reason one can't, that they can't intermingle and coexist, right? Because I mean, the dawn is timeless. It's
Yeah, there is no linear time.
Yeah, so
There is a sequence of events.
Yeah, all these things that occur, they technically occur simultaneously. So, I mean, who's to say is that Anuiel and Sithis aren't kind of birthed at the creation of the Arbus itself, because it's from them.
That's fair enough.
My headset's doing weird stuff. It's from them that everything that constitutes the Arbus comes from. And so, my idea with Hermaeus Mora is that he is the aggregate. He is the patchwork of all the little, you say you cut up a bunch of newspapers or something, you take the best parts and write a lovely Zodiac killer letter. And then, the bits that are left on the floor, you kind of ball those up, and, that's your Hermaeus Mora right there. And he wants so badly to be that Zodiac killer letter, but he can't do it because he was discarded. And so that's why he tries to claim dominion over the rest of the Arbus. That's why he is the power behind the Sharmat, because he's the one who wants to return to what he thinks is rightfully his. I am the universe. I am everything that wasn't included, and that therefore makes everything else that was included part of me. And so that's kind of along that bead.
Andrew, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I really think you need to write out all of this into its own piece, because I would really like to see that written down.
I can do that. Let me add it to my notepad document here. I keep a notepad document just to keep me sane.
So do I, actually.
It's always something we can include in that expedition to Apocrypha thing, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we eventually get back around to finishing that.
That's a lot of that's my fault. Like, I haven't even looked at it in a couple months just because life.
I've been a bit busy with uni.
My wife and I are trying to look for a house now, and so the market's very competitive. We put in an offer today. Hope that pans out.
Hope it works out for you.
Yeah, best of luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Thank you. Right, piece on Hermaeus Mora's nature and origin.
So keeping in mind that at Attic spirits are planets and planes, there's this fascinating line in the monomyth. In the last section, Altmary, Heart of the World, and it is the third to last paragraph. This is after some of the Aedra realized that Mundus is horrible. Ariel pleaded with Anu to take them back, but he, that being Anu, had already filled their places with something else.
Ooh.
So is this presumably like after the Magna-Gi have fled alongside Magnus?
That would be my suspicion, yeah.
Yeah, I that sounds like they were replaced by the Magna-Gi.
I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know.
Here's the rest of that paragraph. Here's the rest of the paragraph. It says, but his soul was gentler. That is, Anu's soul was gentler, and granted Ariel his bow and shield so that he might save the Altmer from the hordes of men. Some had already fallen, like the Chimer. He listened to the tainted at Ada. I assume that's the Daedra.
Mm-hmm.
And others, like the Bosmer, had soiled time's line by taking mannish wives. Anyway.
Well, the Bosmer are the most
accepting. I don't know if it's. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
No, this is way after Magnus.
Yeah.
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 So I would say that this is Anu created something afterwards. That this isn't the because the Magna-Gi went with Magnus and just noped right out of the whole thing. But Anu had filled their places with something else.
Yeah. Well, see, where I'm going with this is I'm trying to think of what the bow and shield signify in terms of the dreamer and the stories it's telling itself.
Oh boy!
Right? Because that's kind of my overall thought is all things that occur, all things that exist in the Elder Scrolls, they are a metaphor for some mental process, some kind of psychological phenomena Like, oh well, this. Maybe Ariel's bow is grasping at straws. Maybe that's that is what he uses to convince himself of something or something like that. You know what I mean? Whereas the shield is like denial or like like repressed memories or some kind of defensive.
Well, going on that, I'd use the whole unstoppable force immovable object metaphor. For like the bow and arrow being the arguments that you use to try and convince someone, whereas
the
shield is like sticking to your ground, refusing to accept.
Digging your feet in.
So maybe the paragraph before that can be helpful. So they're talking about the Mundus, but this was a trick.
Yeah.
As Lorechat knew, the world contained more limitations than not, and was therefore hardly a thing of Anu at all. Mundus was the house of Sithis. As their aspects began to die off, many of the Et Ada vanished completely. Some escaped, like Magnus, and that is why there are no limitations to magic. Others, like Ifre, transformed themselves into the Elnofe, the Earthbones, so that the whole world might not die. Some had to marry and make children just to last. Each generation was weaker than the last, and soon there were Aldmer. Darkness caved in. Lorechat made armies out of the weakest souls and named them men, and they brought Sithis into every quarter. And then that's when Ariel pleaded with Anu to take them back.
Yeah. Already filled their place. So their place, there being the men? Then is that?
I don't know. I don't think. Because my understanding is when they say that they want Anu to take them back, they want Anu to take them back to the beginning place. But he had already filled that when they left the beginning place, it left it empty, and he put something else in there to replace them.
That wouldn't be time, would it?
See, I don't know. See, he asked if that would be time.
No, because Akatosh is, or however you want to go about.
I mean, maybe it's a resignation to a cycle.
Yeah.
So it's like there was a beginning to the cycle, but once you're in the cycle, it doesn't stop. He had already filled that beginning with something else. That something else is the end of the last one, because we've already gone through the cycle now, and the beginning. I mean, it's like what can I compare this to? I'm thinking like a save state in a game or something. Like say you've got an emulator or whatever, and you're playing Super Mario World, and you have a save state towards the very beginning of the game, and you've just played through the entire game nonstop. You went through, you 100%ed that bitch, and then you reloaded the save state. It's. I mean, you're going back to the beginning. But you just had this whole journey. The beginning was so long ago, but from the game's perspective, the game doesn't realize that. Yeah,
right.
It's we're back at square one, and so I don't know. Like that's kind of where that takes me.
It's a good direction. I like it.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, it needs some refining. I think. I mean, I'd almost want to draw like a diagram for it, which I mean, it wouldn't be hard.
A lot of our discussions require diagrams.
Oh yeah, no.
I have used diagrams before for this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I think the only diagrams I've ever really been proud of are my cosmological chart.
That was great.
That I put a lot of work into that. I was really proud of that. And then the one I made to go along with dreams, perceptions, and other philosophies. Just the simple, the different colored circles, and then, here's the lens, and the circle changes color through this lens just to demonstrate that that's, based on where you're looking and from what angle that changes how you perceive things. But anyway, back to the original question about whether there can be more than 8 Adric planets. I would say categorically no, because we're specifying Adric planets. I agree with Michael that Etotic planets are much more a free form.
Yeah, I suppose the Adric planet definition would exclude like Necromancer's Moon.
Yeah, I mean, I adhere pretty closely to the wheel cosmology, and in the wheel, numerology is king. That's and so 8 is extremely important. There are 8 spokes. There are 8 Adra. At least eight who had given themselves to Mundus. And so if we look at Mundus, as that bit of space where we've got Nern in the center here, then the eight the eight Adra, they're stuck in Mundus, so they are part of Mundus. Once you get outside of Mundus, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I would count each of the Daedric planes as its own planet.
Oh yeah.
And we know that Clavicus Vile has millions on his own. Ooh, I just had a thought. What if Clavicus Vile actually has an asteroid belt?
Ooh,
Nice. I like it.
And that each asteroid is its own plane because it's infinite, but they're smaller infinities, so they're smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it a lot.
I would probably argue that Sanguine would have an asteroid belt as well. The myriad realms of revelry.
No. Sanguine has a bloody nebula.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, either that or I'm kind of thinking
Maybe the rings of Saturn.
Yeah, like a ring, because that's so much dust and so each one of those little motes of dust that is spherical in its own right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a nebula is that on steroids.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'm playing with options.
we need Gabe in here to tell us more about planet structure.
Yeah. Well, if Jeremy were in here, he'd be all up on that. He was in here last time.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad he got in.
Yeah, I mean, he was only in for 20 minutes, and his internet was being poop, and then he dropped and never came back. And so,
bummer. One of the things he and I like to talk about is the idea that Nern exists in an Alcubierre or warp bubble. If you look at the out-of-game text cosmology, it talks about how time gets weird once you get to the moons. And that's that when you leave, a warp field bubble has its own time within the bubble, and outside of the bubble, time moves at a different pace. And so that was our idea that time may not even exist in Oblivion. And we talked about that on the Daedra cast a couple weeks ago, I think.
Probably.
I've been touched on a few other places, though. I'm pretty certain that was actually almost a plot point in the Lord of Souls books. I know, but I like them.
No, that's it. I was nodding my head yes.
Oh, okay.
I like those books.
I know the general community opinion of those is split. But,
the second book is rushed. He was. Yeah. It's pretty clear to me that he was trying to hit all the points. It probably should have been a trilogy, because the first book was pretty good. There's some great lore in there. I love the characters. But the second book, he's got a lot of ground to cover, and
he wasn't a lot of time to do it in.
I felt like, I'm sure Greg Keyes is a fantastic author when he's within his element. I felt like Lord of Souls and the Infernal City were lazily written, and not for lack of trying on his part, but it seemed to me that a lot of the lore that he was using, he had learned simply in preparation for the book, right? He grabbed what he needed and worked with that instead of grabbing the cohesive whole and going, okay, I'm going to make this choice that's subtly influenced by this information over here that may not be terribly relevant, but maybe tangentially related, and so building a more cohesive world that way. And I felt like his characterization was, there were characters I just didn't care about. I felt like Atribus was boring.
Actually reminded me a lot of
he's the
Arthur
journey.
What's that?
Sorry, which
Go
one?
ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I actually felt like Prince of Travis felt a little bit in places like Arthur from a Merlin fanfic, if that makes sense.
No, there was, I don't know. It didn't feel like the Elder Scrolls to me.
All that being completely accurate, I also just tend to grade kind of generously just because it's an Elder Scrolls novel and we don't get many of them. Yeah. I would have preferred there to be more of them done by people from within the community, because shit knows we've got enough writers.
Oh yeah, even even if it's like a group project, you know,
Oh, yeah.
get a team of like 7 people. What the hell did I just pull off of my back?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's gray and flaky.
Caterpillar.
Well, that's concerning.
The moths have found you.
I don't think it was a part of me.
Okay.
I mean, I hope not.
Hopefully it was like, hopefully it was lint or something.
It looked like a flake of paint or something.
Oh, okay.
You're dissolving into dust.
I guess so. Damn you, Thanos.
You are becoming the moth that you were always born to be.
There you go.
Yes. The wings are sprouting.
This is not but my chrysalis.
So, fun fact,
Poison.
in my research for my last story that I read up about moths, did you know that moths actually have hair on their bodies?
Yes.
I thought they were hard carapaces, but they actually have fur.
Oh yeah, no, we got lots of moths around here, and yeah, they're very very furry.
They're so sweet. I love them. Except for the ones that destroy everything I love.
Well, there is that, yeah. I mean, you
have
got
some
moths and you got
cats
moths, you know.
and clothes and, yeah, it's constant paranoia.
I feel that.
Time to drink my Pepsi in the classiest way possible, out of a drinking horn.
Drinking horns are all right.
Hey.
Oh my, what is this? Yeah, I can actually look in the chat now.
Hey.
What is this? I'm being sent to Imgur. Okay, I'm going to oh boy.
Always prepared.
Oh, okay. I got you now. Now, see, I'm disappointed. I was hoping it would be the Moonlight Butterfly from.
I was thinking more along the lines of Mothra, but okay.
Well, I mean, either one of those, you know.
I like me a good old butterflies and joke.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited about that Godzilla movie. Actually, not gonna lie.
I've heard that early reports are that it's good.
I don't know, because Godzilla's gotten a bad rep lately. First with fucking Ferris Bueller, and then and Bryan Cranston. I love that man, but I heard that movie was awful.
I mean, you know, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't great. Andrew, have you seen the original Gojira? And I mean the original Japanese.
I've seen him.
Incredible. That the original Japanese film is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
and then
I've got a framed photo. It's actually a still from that movie. I've got it framed in my cabinet in my dining room.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, since then they've tried to recapture the magic to varying degrees, and it got silly at one point. But I grew up watching all the Godzilla movies on Saturday mornings, and I fell in love with them. But nothing comes close to the original. But the one with Bryan Cranston wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't Gojira, but it was better than the one with Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, the one Matthew Broderick was.
I mean, I enjoyed
Godzilla,
that one back
that was
in whatever
something
that
else.
was, 98. But
that was right around the turn of the century there.
yeah, that was. I mean, I enjoyed it back then, but it wasn't. You know, it's not high art.
Oh, so Silverama just bumped me with another question. Well, sort of. He says, since Scourgicus is here, I want to hear his opinion on other possible astronomical bodies and concepts and tests. So neutron stars, black holes, antimatter, etc.
Yes.
Yes.
This is actually something Jeremy and I work on. We talk about actual astronomical stuff and how it plays out in tests.
Turn the fan on.
Okay. Sorry, give me a second.
Sure.
So, like, we'll do. So let's see. What was it? I'm trying to remember. This was a conversation he and I had a while ago. That the stars are white holes, which is not a black hole.
Yeah.
Or it's the opposite end of a black hole, depending on your perspective. But yeah, I would say that all of those phenomena are there. You would just have to figure out how they work within the lore. My thought is like a black hole would probably be some kind of liminal tear or a liminal portal into a different realm or space time. Time space, as I call it, since Akka is the foundation of everything.
Mhm.
So it'd be time space. But I think all those phenomena would definitely be there. And we talked about asteroid belts.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see ringed planets, planes, whatever.
Yeah, well, I think last time we did a lore chat, we, as in the royal sense, I believe we had been asked. I think it was Silverama asked about. I think it was antimatter, and so it had to do with
Daedrons.
yeah hadrons and daedrons, and that was
Yeah.
kind of what we talked about. So like I kind of looked it up, and there wasn't a whole lot of information.
There's not.
Yeah, they've not really done much. From what I could
What
find.
I infer about the existence of hadrons and daedrons is that something that's born. You can't see if I'm doing apostrophes. Born in Mundus is hadronically aligned, right? It's nimically aligned to be a part of Mundus. It's part. I think if I haven't discussed this before, I know I've done it in the Select Azorcast. I view the Arbus as a philosophical argument between is and is not. Anything that's hadronically aligned is. Anything daedronically aligned is not. And that's why they can't mix, and that's why you have the Alcubierre warp field around Mundus, because Mundus exists in a giant field of nope, and it's the yes, which something coda, something numidium, empty speech bubble. So something that's born within Mundus is aligned to be yes. Something that's born in Oblivion is aligned to be no. And that's why if you are someone from Mundus and you go into Oblivion, you forget how to breathe because literally everything around you is trying to nope you out of existence.
Yeah,
And that's why you need belief magic.
Yeah, and that's is that mentioned in Sword Many Betweens, Tiber Septim and Cyrus?
Yeah, it's Cyrus. Yeah.
I know it was one of them. I'm pretty sure it was that one because that has.
There's several. That's the big one. Yeah.
Yeah. The Tiber Septim one has more space stuff, whereas Vivek has more just cool Vivek stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they be.
And so, and that's why when you summon, for instance, my character in Skyrim summons a flame atronach from Infernus into Mundus, that it only lasts for so long, because it's being brought into a place that is nimically antithetical to what it is. So for a Daedra, Mundus is no.
That must feel horrible.
It would suck. It would be horrible.
God, no wonder every Dromora intensely hates you.
Yes.
So then, does that mean Numidium is an echo?
That it's what?
An echo. It's only repeating what it hears.
Maybe. I know it's the magic word, but maybe.
It's the magic word.
Yeah, it is a magic word, and we promise no tricks.
Yeah. And so that's then the real trick is with, because I can't remember which book it's in, but it talks about that if you have Daedra that persist in Mundus, it's because they've done some covenant with their summoner that they'll stay. We talked about this in the Select Azorcast.
Yeah.
But by their nature, they can't stay here because it nopes them. Yeah, so for a Daedra, this would be hell. Mundus would be hell.
Holy shit, that makes everything make so much more sense.
And that's why Cadwell, who has become Daedronically aligned, I would say, for him, Mundus is hell. He's like, this place looks horrible, and he loves Cold Harbor. He's like, Cold Harbor's so beautiful.
Yeah. Out for a stroll, lovely day for it.
Right.
Yeah.
John
Cleese is the man. What a great character.
I know, he's fantastic. I can't wait to see him in Elsewhere.
And John Cleese, man.
I know, right?
John Cleese, what a guy. Okay, so what else do you got, Michael? So neutron stars, black holes, and antimatter are specifically what Silverama mentions.
Okay, I would have to read up on neutron stars to be able to lore that properly.
Well,
Well, I can
But-
give what I know of neutron stars if that helps, but
Yeah, please.
well, you know how black holes form. They're massive stars that collapse under their own gravity and start warping space-time around them because they're so dense. Neutron stars are what happens if the star isn't quite big enough to become a black hole.
Interesting.
Everything collapses down to an object about the size of London,
Okay.
and the electrons in the atoms that make up the star get flung off, and all the protons. Oh, sorry, no, they don't get flung off. They get, because of the massive gravity, they all get shoved into the protons in the atomic nuclei, forming neutrons. So a neutron star is basically a giant mass of atomic nuclei melded together into this big ball of super dense matter. There's basically nothing but neutrons.
Yeah, I'd have to talk with Jeremy about that one, because my take on black holes is that they're liminal tears, and the trick is that stars and tests are holes into Aetherius, so it operates differently. I don't know. I'd have to take some time to lore that one out.
Well, I mean, something that comes to mind for me is they're sort of what's fallen out of one of the holes into Aetherius. Like, they're sort of ethereal jetsam that's sort of fallen out.
or a turd.
Yeah, if you want to use that term. But they're basically just like a solidified lump of ethereal matter or magicka or whatever that slowly sort of gets shredded by oblivion as it floats around in there.
So, Andrew, we had talked about in the Daedra cast that the only way to get magicka in Oblivion is to filter it through Mundus. And I
vaguely remember that conversation. That's because we were in the direction of souls, and we were trying to figure out why is it that princes covet souls so much.
Right.
And so you had speculated that maybe it's because that's the only way that they can get actual magic. They have to gather it, they have to harvest it from from Mundus, because Mundus can absorb it freely, and so, people show up and, oh well, hey, I'm gonna harvest you, and so now you're my magic.
So if the stars are holes, what happens when magic seeps out through the holes into an infinite plane of nope? How does that? Man, I don't even know what to think about that.
Well, I stunned myself for a minute there. I was thinking about, I used the word harvest.
Hmm.
Isn't Hermaeus Mora called the gardener of men?
He certainly is.
Yeah.
I feel like we're really close to something.
Andrew,
He's reaping those wild oats, my man.
well, Andrew, you and I, when we were starting on Expedition to Apocrypha, I mentioned that my idea is that when Magnus left Mundus, he punched a hole in everything that got in his way. Mm-hmm. And so he punched a hole straight through Oblivion as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when you look at every realm in Oblivion, there's always like this big sun thing in the middle of the sky. And that then led on to, in Apocrypha's case, Hermaeus Mora's sort of plugs that hole himself, and it's how he reaches out basically freely. So if that's the case, then magicka should theoretically go into every realm of Oblivion. But
yeah, that's a good point. Which, I mean, the thing
But
here,
I mean, it may not be the case. I just thought it was a nice idea.
I feel like it fits. To be fair, given like Magnus's reputation is basically Big Daddy fuck off. You know, like all of the others made stars. He made the fucking sun. It's like how powerful must his just very self have been just to have created such a huge hole.
I'm just laughing because you said it fits, and so Hermaeus Mora went honk. Yeah, because that's kind of
Hermaeus Mora is the plug
yeah.
in the drain of life.
Yeah, you can make some slang with that too. He's the quintessential plug. Hey man, I got drugs. He doesn't have drugs though, so
I kind of like the fact, like me having a bit of a dirty mind. I've kind of turned this around as that Magnus, as in the whole, not the entity that created the whole, is basically the arsehole of the cosmos, and Hermaeus Mora is basically just a butt plug.
yeah. What?
Oh, fuck, it's stuck in my nose.
No. Hermaeus Mora is the colonoscopy camera.
That's even better. Love it.
You've seen all those eyes, man?
Oh, fuck.
You all right?
Oh, I've missed this cast so much. Fuck you all.
Yeah, we're good. Well, I was just thinking. I was trying to think because Hermaeus Mora is the prince of forbidden knowledge. So I wonder because I think Boethia and Mephala would kind of fall into like kind of a Kama Sutra-esque sort of view of like sex, for example.
Well, Boethia's pillow book, Morrowind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. But what about forbidden acts, which would be the domain of Hermaeus Mora, who is a tentacle monster?
Yeah, that
would be also Sanguine, who probably deals with like the really shitty sadists.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, what? Oh yeah, no, his stuff is kinky, but it's not forbidden.
Oh, this is my wheelhouse of weird shit. Yes.
So
yes, Hermaeus Mora is the one with the ovipositor.
I've never actually seen hentai, but I've heard enough about it to know where this is going.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Welcome to my
Hermaeus
area of
Mora is
expertise.
hentai.
Everyone knows what's going on with show up.
Welcome back to the Dickcast.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I was
Today
watching,
we're discussing the Elder Scrolls version of Bible Black.
God
So
damn it.
I was watching this
Bible
YouTuber.
Black is so weird.
I was watching this
It
YouTuber.
is seriously strange.
What's that, Michael?
I was watching this YouTuber named Asmongold, who, okay, whatever you think, and he was playing ESO for the first time, and I don't remember the specifics, but he was doing something. He said, "Oh, it's a dick," and I'm like, "Dude, you don't even know that you've just discovered like the entirety of Elder Scrolls lore."
It's a dick. Yep.
But as a lore beard, it's fun to watch him because he has absolutely no idea what's going on, and he's just like, "What?" It's pretty fantastic.
Watching new people discover these things for the first time, it warms my awful little heart.
Yeah, and he's a WoW player. Like he's famous. He's a famous WoW player. So this is like completely not his wheelhouse, and he's very confused. Like, and he starts with Morrowind. So ESO Morrowind. So he's talking to Vivek, and he's like, "Wait, isn't he an infinite god?" I'm like, "Oh, hun, oh my friend."
I did like how in ESO Morrowind, Vivek had a crown of divine energy coming
That was kind of a nice
from his head.
The fire personally.
But yeah, we'll see. And when at the very end, #spoilers.
Spoilers.
When you finished Morrowind's main quest in ESO, and there's the bit where Vivek's outside, he's at the temple, and he's like, "Hey, here's some rewards for you and you and you and you." Every time he hands out a reward, the divinity kind of lights up.
It does, yeah.
Real quick, and so I like to think that's a nod at the flames on his head.
He had to make room for the fire, yeah. No, I finished it for the second or third time today. I did it with another character, and you're absolutely right. It's a really cool effect.
Yeah. So it was just a little thing that I went.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
good.
I like it.
I love when they work in stuff like that. It's really cool.
It's always the little touches. It makes me happiest.
Well, I told myself I was going to work on issue 11 today,
Ooh.
and I didn't. It was supposed to be out today, and
Oh no.
I was out playing Pokemon Go with my son all
That
day.
is perfectly fair.
That's completely allowable though.
Family stuff is more
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's legit.
Yeah.
We drove all over town, and he had a good time. So
Cool.
Anything good?
he got a Charizard, so that was kind of cool.
Oh,
Ooh.
Nice.
But the Charizard was available because of Detective Pikachu, which we saw last night, and it was
yay!
fantastic.
I haven't
Nice.
gone. I will.
Go and see it.
I need to.
Yeah, it's really good. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Nice.
Gonna give me flashbacks to going to see Pokemon the first movie in theaters when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
Yeah. See, and the thing I liked about this movie is that it has all the humor you would expect of a modern day American movie. It's got some really great plot twists that are like consistent with Pokemon lore. I was like, yeah, buddy. And the characterization is fantastic. There's some real heartfelt, just emotional moments, and they don't feel phoned in,
Wow.
Whereas like in the cartoon, it's like, oh wow, someone's crying. This is awkward. Like,
I could never get into the Pokemon anime.
no. See, I don't do the show.
I watched the show for a long time, and I understand
Oh.
that the Japanese version is different.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of scenes that are taken out. I'd be really curious to see the
Yeah,
Japanese.
I have heard a lot of bad
Well,
complaints about
there
the
was-
localizations.
yeah. The most notable example I can think of is there's an episode where
Jelly-filled donuts.
well no,
Or is that just for kids?
well
That might just be for kids.
there's one episode where the reason they removed it is so stupid. So James and Jesse are doing their cross-dressing thing, and James is wearing a two-piece bikini, and he has big old fake titties.
Yeah.
And he talks about his fake titties for like 3 seconds.
What?
They
I
banned
remember that somehow.
they banned the entire episode.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're just not gonna do that.
It's just kids.
Yeah. And then there's the one with Porygon where there's some flashing lights and kids in Japan had seizures, so they like struck that from all.
It's the Electric Soldier Porygon, I think.
Yeah. So they have never had another episode where Porygon was involved.
Except
Oh,
it was
wow.
Pikachu that gave them the seizures.
Yeah. Well, it was when they were in. Because I've seen the episode. They were like inside a computer or whatever. Like bombs are going off, and as the bombs are going off, the background flashes yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, red.
Jesus, don't do that.
That's why. That's why.
And that was what caused the epileptic seizures.
Yeah. That'll happen.
Yeah. And there's little things, and they'll even change the animation in more recent years. This character is wearing a crop top, but we're gonna make that a full shirt because Americans can't handle the fucking female body. So
Yeah.
but anyway, Elder Scrolls. Hi.
Yes. Although, if we can loop that back in like slightly organically, the amount of Pokemon references in Morrowind always entertained me greatly.
Yes. A lot of them so Morrowind came out in about late 2002.
Yes.
About holiday season 2002, and I got it early 2003, if memory serves. I bought it at Babbage's, which doesn't exist anymore. A friend of mine suggested it to me, and so let's say 2002. So that means the second Pokemon movie would have come out the year before. So this would be right around the time that I stopped caring about Pokemon. I was like obsessed from like 8 to about 11 or so.
Mm.
And then I got into middle school out in the country and no one gave a shit. And then it was like,
Yeah.
because I didn't have any friends to talk about it with. Like they thought
bummer.
they thought I was weird for it, and so I was like, oh, well, I guess I won't be doing this anymore. And then I became an adult, and I was like, you know what, fuck what people think. And now I have to.
That's right.
And that's why I'm like a Pokemon professor in my city. I organize tournaments and stuff.
Nice.
Oh my god. You are everything I wish I could be.
I'm a pretty well known battler in the area too. So yeah, I love my Pokemans. But I remember playing through Morrowind the first time, like when I played through it all the way. I had to use those cheats where like your health would like jump back up after you got hit, like it would go bleh, bleh. And so like it basically I was a filthy cheater. And
Morrowind kind of needed it though. I mean, like
it did. It was kind of
until you got used to it. Like you kind of needed to use use cheats, otherwise it just became so difficult.
Oh yeah.
Until you learned how to manipulate the system.
Yeah. Well, and being 12, 13 at the time, like I'm not prepared for hardcore gaming. Like, are you kidding me?
No, right.
And I had the added handicap of it being my very first 3D game with WASD controls. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. Well,
I died a bunch.
I bought it on for Xbox first. It was the vanilla version, just straight up plain Elder Scrolls, without patches or anything.
Ouch.
Morrowind, yeah. And I fell in love with the game, and then like I bought the Game of the Year edition later with my own money.
Yeah.
I had saved up allowance money because I realized there were expansions for it. I really wanted to play the expansions.
Oh god, that wonderful feeling when you first realize, wait, there's more of it coming?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I remember playing through the game, and the Kakuna burial. That's weird. Oh, a Marowak spine. I wonder if that's a Pokemon thing. I wonder if they didn't do that on purpose. Yeah. And I think Charma's breath was another one. That's a reference to Charmander.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Weepinbell Hall in Orkington. That first quest you do for Caius Casades. And Hasfat Antibalus, the Indiana Jones of the Elder Scrolls.
Oh, buddy can hear. Well, you guys can hear me, but I can't hear you. I'll be right back.
Okay. Hi, Johnny. Well, he can't hear us. So I don't know why.
No.
It's okay.
Although while we're
He'll hear us when he eventually watches the stream.
So I just want to say I think I'd love you all because you're talking about playing this game when you were 11, and I played Morrowind at 32.
Oh, I know.
I'm so old.
I mean, Morrowind came out when I was 2, so.
No,
oh, dude, you are so small.
Michael might be an old fart, but
I am an old fart. I'm proud of it. I cut through a lot of stuff to be this old fart.
Oh yeah.
That's
I mean,
how you get to know,
I was born in 1990.
Same.
Yeah.
So, March.
It's a year before I graduated.
Yeah, so that probably makes you 17 years older than me.
Oh, yeah, about that, give or take.
Yeah.
It's too funny, man.
My best friend is actually in his late 30s.
Oh, cool.
And so it's funny. Like he remembers me when I was like a kid. I was just a little piece of shit running around. I would go to like Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, and he played Yu-Gi-Oh, and so it was like, yeah, this has some like chunkage to it. I don't think I want to drink.
Still working on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it was a 22 ounces. So what 1 pint and 6 ounces.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know if I don't know if it was like I don't know if that's an imperial or a.
That is
That's imperial.
Just gonna guess.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Liters.
A pint is round about 600 milliliters.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. 22 fluid ounces to milliliters. Yeah, 650 milliliters.
Okay.
So yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, it's a bigger bottle.
It's a substantial little chunky boy.
Yeah, but there's some there's some shit in there.
Some
No, it's ale. What do you expect?
Well, no, it's some particulate matter. Like, let me see. Like, you see the
Oh, that's
chunks.
trippy.
Yeah,
There's like little.
it's from the fermentation process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it was cherries, lemons, oranges. Oh, and that might actually be like some of the coagulated bits from the barrel aging too.
Just don't drink those.
I'll just chew on it.
That'd be quick. While we're thinking about translation of measurements for what the fuck are you talking about, I was just suddenly thinking, like, how many times does this happen throughout Tamriel? Just like any form of trading, just like trying to work out what each local culture uses for measurement and what the fuck that.
Yeah.
I think
Thinking about it, I don't really know of any mentions of things like measurements in all that much detail.
They have to exist. Right?
So
I know the game refers to spells as like taking effect in an area of a particular number of feet, but that's the game.
Everything I've seen, and with Bethesda being an American company, it relies on Imperial, which I mean I feel like we could probably assume that each culture has its own method, unless we assume that either Riemann or Tiber affected, like in their conquering of Tamriel, they basically said,
that does seem likely.
This is the unit of measurement we'll be using, and then every culture was like, okay, well, we're
See, I've kind of got an opinion about this. Like,
Can you guys hear me? I'm just chatting in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna listen in. What are we talking about though?
Right now, we're
measurements.
Units of measurement.
Oh, cool. All right, I'll just listen in.
All right.
Edmund?
Oh, okay. So, like, if we take the financial system from Kingkiller, okay, where there's lots of different types of money, okay, and they all translate into different amounts and blah 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 blah, and so some are considered more to have more weight behind them than others. Sealedish money is considered to be the most reliable.
Yeah.
So
I kind of say that the Empire's system of measurement, whatever it is, would probably be the equivalent of Sealedish money, but then with each different province having their own form as well.
Yeah. Their own
so like,
I can see that.
And marks and halfpennies and whatever. Yeah.
That kind of gives me an idea, actually. I might write that down for later writing ideas. Because whenever anyone mentions like imperial traders, it's sort of just a general, a dude with a boat gonna ship something. But like, what if it's a very specific job where you have to learn all of the world's currencies and know how to translate properly?
See, and this was actually something that I was kind of thinking about with my tabletop game. Wouldn't that be kind of a cool system to add? Like, oh well, you find
exchange rates,
12 Dunmary marks, and it's like, oh, what is that? And then you got to take it to a money changer, and he's going to ask for 5% of the total to change out into whatever denomination you want. If you want if you want the whole thing in Dunmary bits or something, and they're like smaller pieces, and you just get a big bucket full of these things, or
Imperial Drakes.
or yeah, you want to convert it into drakes or septums or whatever else.
Yeah, the monetary system of TES kind of needs an expansion because like
Really does.
just
It
using
does.
septums doesn't
I mean,
seem
especially
all that
now that
realistic.
At the
arguably-
very least, it. Sorry, who am I talking over?
I don't know.
I think it was you, Dan. What was it you were saying?
Especially considering that arguably the empire is probably falling. So
Mhm.
the septum may or
Yeah.
may not
Yeah.
remain
Well,
as a-
if your only form of currency is based purely on gold and there's no other denomination, well, that doesn't really surprise me, to be fair.
It just seems like it should at least be
Yeah.
smaller denominations.
Yes.
Like-
I know
Like
it's
copper and silver are pretty standard for
yeah.
fantasy
That's
universes.
what I was just about to say. Yeah.
It's these kinds of logistical things that I think the lore community could really do well expanding upon.
This is the stuff I really love getting my teeth into. To
Yeah.
the point where I ended up writing a whole damn thing about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because I've been kind of toying with the idea of creating a scholarly citation format
Nice.
for the Elder Scrolls. So maybe take some bits from like Chicago style. Here's some stuff from MLA. We're gonna use some Associated Press here, and then just like blend it all together. And hey, this is like the Imperial University style or something like that. And then that's this is the style you must have for dissertations submitted to the Arcane University or something like that.
And then the College of Winterhold has their own niche one that
Yeah.
everyone else refuses to use.
It's just like overly complicated, and people are like, what the no, I don't want to do that. But they're like, well, then we're not going to accept your shit. It's like, well,
Rank style citations.
because I'll tell you,
I imagine the synod is kind of as well like theirs is just either needlessly complicated or just ridiculously simple.
because I'll tell you, I have experience with all four major types of scholarly citation format
I'm sorry.
from my own learning. So, one, I'm a teacher. So that's American Psychological Association, APA style. Okay. I majored in English. That's MLA style. I had a minor in history. That's Chicago style. And I had a job in news. That's AP, Associated Press style. So the four main types.
The one I've used for all my bibliographies for school stuff, I tend to use Harvard, but
Yeah.
I think that's just because that was the one I was told to use in like year 8, and I've just stuck with it since.
I don't know. With we had a president a bit back, George W. Bush, and his whole thing with No Child Left Behind. It created more like standardized testing and things. It was more benchmarking and things for students, and so a lot of that meant that we all had to learn the same things. And so MLA format in every English class, for the most part, across the country, everyone learned how to write in MLA 5-paragraph essay format. And so
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
oh no, not at all.
I know in Australia where we've got the like national curriculum that determines in English classes your essays have to be in this particular format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and see, with an MLA style 5-paragraph essay, you have your introduction, you have your 3 body paragraphs, and you have a conclusion, and each paragraph has its own formula within that.
That's pretty much the system we use.
And so I mean the details might change here and there, but overall, you're going to have your topic sentence, then you're going to have your main detail, and then your supporting evidence, and then another main detail, and another piece of supporting evidence, and you're going to rinse and repeat until you have 3 paragraphs, each one tackling a different main idea that backs up the premise in your introduction paragraph, and then your conclusion is going to restate everything you just said. So that's the basic. We're all taught to do that, like in middle school, like year 6 through 8. That's what we're taught to do, and being trained as an English teacher, like I've seen a lot of that from the other end too. And to peel. Topic, sentence, point, evidence, explanation, link to question. Oh, that's interesting. So they don't have.
I know my sister's school used a different acronym. It was like PETAL or something, but it basically meant the same thing.
Yeah. Topic, evidence, point.
Hey guys, I've been lurking, but there was one thing I found a while ago. I'm just gonna link it in the chat thing.
Sure.
I found evidence that it's not only gold that they use for currency in Elder Scrolls Online, at least. There's this dude who asks for a couple silvers. There it is there.
Yeah, which that sounds to me like a holdover.
I do not have permission to access this.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
requested permission. I don't know if it's your document or what, but I requested.
Have you got it on like link sharing,
Uh,
or did you just copy the address?
I just uploaded it onto the chat thing.
So in your document, you want to go up to share, and when it comes up with that box, you're gonna hit get a link, and then right above the link itself, where it has you copy it, you can hit can view, can comment, can edit. So if you go can view, and then change it to that, so that'll make it that everyone that has, new good question from Silverama.
I'm gonna go another way. 1 second.
Okay.
I have one final thought about currency.
Yeah.
So in the ancient Near East, currencies were not based on coins, but on weight. For instance, like in the Bible, it'll talk about you have to get a shekel. A shekel isn't a coin; it's a system of weight, and so that's why there's this whole thing about scales and weighing things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My suspicion, what ended up happening in the real world is eventually they came up with coins to represent the weight and value of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
My take on it is that the Empire probably established coins to represent a certain worth. And that's the septum.
And it's probably easier.
All right. I posted it as a link. Oh, and I'm Mac, by the way. I think that's Mac or Michael. That's Michael.
It's me. It's Michael. Hey,
okay,
hey.
sorry. I get you guys mixed up all the time.
It's okay.
11 cents. Will you spare us silver for honest men as adoring children?
It's something.
I met this
if I
guy.
remember correctly, I mean that's sort of how like gold or silver based coins initially came to work. Each coin was basically a promise for that weight in gold.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Not exactly. From my understanding, it was that originally the coins were that weight, but then with the introduction of the promissory notes, that was where it kind of came about in bank drafts and those kind of things. That's where kind of stopping using the actual gold and actually just using other stuff kind of came from.
To be fair, a lot of what I know about currency is based off both a Terry Pratchett book and a Wikipedia article. So
same.
I spent a lot of
Making
time.
Money is one of my favorite books.
Well, I spent a lot of time studying like European and Near Eastern history, and so there's in one class I took, we did talk about like the birth of currency alongside like the birth of writing, and so a lot of this comes from Colin Renfrew's systems theory, that every culture has 5 main parts. If I can remember what they are, there's so like trade and communication, there's agriculture, there's stuff like art.
Are these social communicators, maybe? Education, government, family.
No.
That's something different.
They're a bit more broad.
Okay.
But yeah, every culture in human history has these 5 things, and you can point out, hey, here's what this subsystem is, and here's how it relates to the other 5. And then that would encompass the entire culture. And so I really wanted to apply this to all of the cultures in the Elder Scrolls, but I never got around to it. Like, it was just kind of something I toyed with.
And like, I would imagine Ashlanders might just trade goods for goods.
Yeah, I would imagine Ashlanders and probably like Forsworn, they probably operate on a barter system. Just
more nomadic.
Yeah. I'll give you these 3 stacks of grain if you give me your goat. Like that.
That's like the basic standard for most like agricultural communities.
But I seem to remember there was something. I think it was maybe this was a stock taking technique. They would put like chips, little square or triangular or circular chips into a pot, and they'd seal it shut. And so to make sure that everything that was in a shipment was accounted for, you could break the pot, and this was to make it so that numbers couldn't be falsified or anything, right?
Cool.
Once they're put in, they're there, and you got to break it to figure it out. Once that's and that's how they keep count of materials. So you break it and you count out the bits, and maybe circular bits are worth a certain value, triangular bits are worth a certain value, square bits are worth some other value. And then you add it all up, and hey, does this make sense? Okay, yep, that's what I've got. Okay, nothing's been stolen. I haven't lost anything. I don't have any shrinkage.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a good system.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's how that worked, but I feel like there was something to do with money too. Like, basically you had like a piggy bank and you take it with you. But record keeping sounds a lot more feasible.
Tangentially related, I remember reading that one of the oldest pieces of writing ever found was a complaint letter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Between a
Yeah.
merchant and a guy who sold him a bunch of copper, and he was basically saying, "Hey, your copper is shit."
Yeah. That was a cuneiform tablet.
Nice.
I want to say it wasn't or
Was it like ancient Assyrian, maybe?
or Uruk. It was because I think predates actual writing. I'm not sure. Maybe Mesopotamia. Somewhere in that general area.
I seem to remember it being mentioned in relation to like Assyria, or like one of those.
It very well could be. My memory's awful.
So is mine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good at remembering details, but not larger pieces. Yeah, well, I feel like that's so. Think about currency, units of measurement, and for me at least, citation styles. I feel like those are 3 things that the entire lore community could be like, hey, I want to focus on monetary. Here's the currency for Argonia, for example. Maybe they trade seashells or something. I don't know. And then
that sounds more Maorman to me. Seashells.
Oh yeah.
And the Dunmer could just trade Argonians as currency.
And then they use knots like to keep track of materials. So hey, I've got
writing all this down.
I've got 14 sacks of grain. I'm gonna tie 14 knots into this thing, and that's how I'm going to show that how much stuff I have.
Or sand dollars, if that's a thing.
Which, I mean, why not?
Yeah, everything else is a thing in that universe.
Sand dollars sound to me a lot more alt-Mary.
Or Mount even.
Not shiny enough.
Why not both? The 2 cultures are related.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
would sand dollars not be Redguard?
they could be.
Like,
Why not both?
Like Johnny says, I don't really see them as being shiny and like enough for the Ultima.
Well,
The Ultima
a little too
kind of
dirty and
sense of
sandy.
well, maybe
yeah, the Ultima sense of superiority makes me think that they use some form of crystal or some kind of other
maybe. And who's
artsy
the-
fartsy
I kind of
fancy
like the idea of
bullshit.
the Ultima using like specially made glass marbles or something like that.
Oh yes, yes, like in the Stormlight archive. Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
beautiful.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So in the
I
Stormlight
have no
Archive.
idea what you're referencing, but
Okay. Well, so in this novel series, the Stormlight Archive, written by who is that? Brandon Sanderson. Is that it?
Yes.
Their monetary system throughout this fictional world is they have these little glass spheres, and usually there's a little gemstone like embedded in the center. And something about these spheres is they absorb this energy that comes from these storms that show up like every 4 days or something like that. There's a storm that comes by. They're called high storms, and these storms basically have all this energy in them. And so you can leave your money out in like a secured area, and it'll absorb energy from these storms. And then you've got so they use their currency as a source of light. So you can get a big old glass vial, put all your money in it, and you can use it as a lantern.
Yeah, and like although they're technically worth exactly the same amount, the energy dissipates from the gemstones as well. So
Yeah.
and so dun spheres are generally not accepted as readily as spheres that actually hold Stormlight, because they could be fake if they haven't got Stormlight. But they're supposed to be worth exactly the same amount.
Yeah, because it's about the gemstone inside. And
Yeah.
so I think diamond chits are like the lowest denomination, and then you can get like sapphire marks or something, and then they have different denominations, different sizes, different gemstones. And so that does sound an awful lot like an alt-Mary thing. The only thing is
the idea I was going for was the coins themselves don't have a value. Because they're just glass. What the value is the effort in making them.
Ooh.
So it's like it's like using art as a currency.
Well, it's like using
it's less about the materials used to make it, because canvas and paint is not inherently worthy in its own self.
So
but it's the effort used to make it.
Yeah, so it's almost a currency based on their principle of alaxon, which itself is based on the Japanese ikigai, right? Ikigai being a purpose for being. It's the thing that you have in your life that gives you meaning, and it completes you, right? So like for me, it would probably be teaching, because that's what I have. I'm good at it. It brings me enjoyment, and it's something that helps the people around me, and it helps myself, right? That's my ikigai. For other people, maybe being a machinist or being a butcher. Maybe that's what brings you your fulfillment. That's what alaxon is in the alt-Mary idea. It's this idea that it is the thing that gives you purpose, and you devote your discipline to it. So taking the discipline of this glass making, right, that turns the alaxon into a currency. I think that's dope as shit.
See, I do as well. I totally think that's really awesome, and it's so much better than my idea, which was basically I was going to tie it into the aliens and be like, well, they use what remnants they have of the old crystals within the glass, basically the same as in the Stormlight, but like without the Stormlight.
Which who's to say that the aliens didn't do that?
Yes, I suppose the aliens probably did. Like little shards of Vala stones and Welkin stones encased in glass.
Dude, that's fucking sick.
I just have this idea of like the mint of
Yeah.
the Somerset Isles just being this big glass-blowing workshop staffed by nothing but like one family that has been doing this basically since the founding of the Alt Society. I just like that image.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with you, Clock. I really am. But I do think it really, actually thinking about it, it fits the aliens so much more to have actual magic be their currency.
Well,
Like
I feel like
literally, you're passing magic over
if
to somebody to buy something.
and if anyone's gonna do that, it's elves, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Whereas I feel like the Bosmer, they would take some kind of seed, right?
Mm.
Like an acorn. That would be like their penny. And then
Definitely.
maybe this more complicated seed that grows into some other kind of tree or something. That's like a denomination up until you get to like this big pod. Well, maybe not big pod because that would be unwieldy. Unless that's the point. Because carrying it deters you from carrying around that much money.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to the Stormlight archive, the largest denominations, they were said to be something like, isn't it about the size of a tennis ball?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So like, I mean,
I'm only about through the first book, so
I do have one thing to say about so a few cultures are kind of in the Elder Scrolls are kind of similar to Native American cultures, but there was one thing I was reading about where in one particular Native American culture, they believed it as if you wanted more than you needed, they saw it as a sickness. So for one person to desire to be rich and have more than another is in itself sick. So I don't know, but since some cultures are kind of like that in the Elder Scrolls, maybe that's kind of the case with like Wood Elves or Ashlanders or something. Maybe Ashlanders. But I wonder what's going on with the Guar over there.
Well, I mean, speaking of Dunmer, something I was thinking of that could work as a currency for them is either something made out of ebony, which would be pretty obvious,
or obsidian.
Or another thing I was thinking of is like maybe each house has their own internal currency. Like the Telvanni have a currency based off their mushroom houses. Like they take bits of their mushroom house,
right?
Prepare them specifically, and then like carve the value into them.
Yeah, and then
shows how much they're supposed to be worth. Or
yeah, and
maybe House Dress throw slaves around. But.
Yeah, probably Dress just does Argonians.
I mean, Johnny, I think what you were saying, I think that would fit really well with the Bosmer and the Green Pact. I think kind of like not wanting to take more than what you need to survive. That fits into the Bosmeri way of life rather well, from what I know of it anyway, which isn't very much, I will admit.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like a few of them could kind of fit that role in some ways. Like probably the Ashlanders because they seem pretty.
That I would have to disagree about the Ashlanders just because kind of the Ashcans and the Gulakans kind of they do build up wealth because it's a status symbol and it helps them maintain their position within the tribe.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But whereas if you look at the Green Pact and that's kind of like, you know, in everything that's about it, I think it fits more with the Bosmer than it does with the Ashlanders. Yeah. But then again, the Ashlanders accumulating wealth, that might be something that only happens once you attain a position of power in the first place. Just the normal standard Ashlander may have the exact same philosophy as what you described, but then should he become an Ashcan, he has to start accumulating wealth because it's necessary, you know?
Yeah, to be the top dog. That makes sense. And I guess I was just thinking of, since we were talking about the Grey Houses, Well, I'm sure Lalu, they've kind of adapted the septums. Because, I mean, they're all about
Oh, yeah.
trade with the world. But with Telvanni, their currency, they don't really care about currency. They just care about power. Which that is, yeah, kind of like you said, like a status thing. Whoever has the most power.
Yeah, I can see the Telvanni having a bartering system based around favors. Like, if
And manipulation.
yeah, like you go to a Telvanni lord and say, right, I want to buy this that you have in your tower, and he's like, right, okay, but you will owe me 3 favors.
Yeah. Yeah, they never want to lose a bargain. That would make sense.
Yeah, because then it can, like, one of those favors can be, well, give me my shit back, you know?
Yeah.
But then they've also got another 2 favors where it can be like, right, okay, well, I want that, give it to me. And
Yeah.
I want you to go and kill this person because they're in my way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I really do. Telvanni is specifically, I think, a favor-based bartering system.
Yeah.
It just makes
I
sense.
kind of feel we could
It just
work
works.
the Telvanni mushrooms into that somehow, though.
Oh well, yes. I mean, obviously, like
Big mushroom energy.
the common people within House Telvanni, like not the mage lords and stuff, but just the normal low level commoners, they're gonna have to have some other sort of system because
And,
you
and
know
some way of trading with people outside the Great House.
and that as well. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think working in the, like you said, Clock Silence, the mushrooms in as some form of currency
Is there really like a
does
lower
work,
caste other than slaves? And with
Well-
Telvanni?
well, yeah, I suppose I would say there is. I mean, the people who live in Telvanni territory are may not exactly be technically part of Telvanni as a great house, but they live in Telvanni territory, so they have to do things the Telvanni way.
So, Dan is AFK, and he had an idea just while he's AFK. So bone beads could be a very metal currency if the greatest value denomination was made from your own bone.
Hmm.
Hmm?
Damn.
Or,
But
or
what
if we're using
race
this for
would do that?
a particularly favored ancestor.
Yeah, or like like a familial bone. Like, oh,
I can't see the Dunmer using bones as currency.
mm,
I can't
not
like
not
I
necessarily
can't see that.
not necessarily the Dunmer. Like that could be like a Bosmer thing.
Oh yeah, I could see it
Like,
maybe being the Bosma thing. Yeah.
you know, and then like Khajiit tailbones could be a valuable charm or crafting item in Varda.
Or like a status symbol, like having a Rolex.
Well, so like slaves would sell their own tails for their freedom,
Ooh,
or that
that's
of their,
dark.
That's
or
pretty cool.
or that of their children. So if
Oh
a
shit.
tailbone was like
Ooh,
a
make good
powerful,
bracelets.
yeah,
No, this one's going to tell you that's wrong. You don't sell the 2 moons dance. What you do is create skooma and then turn the Dunmer into slaves to skooma.
unless you're a slave already.
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting because that's kind of the opposite of the Britain-China relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lurk for a little bit, but keep talking, y'all.
All right. But that was what Dan brought up.
I mean, I do love the idea of bone beads and that kind of thing, but yeah, I think
I mean,
I'm not
maybe
sure about.
maybe the bone stuff could have been like an ancient Nordic thing.
Oh, maybe because I
I could see that. I could see that.
So Edmund, do you remember in the King Killer Chronicles?
Okay.
Oh God, where was it? The mayor of
Yes, Alvaron, Vintus.
yeah,
Yes. The Ring of Bone.
Yeah, and so
Yes.
for different social connotations, you had different kinds of rings that you would give to people. And so, if they're beneath you, you give them like a
ring of iron.
Yeah, a ring of iron. If they're on a level, that's like a ring of silver. If they're above you, it's a ring of gold, and that kind of thing. And bone is like,
yeah, that's not kind of like it's separate from the system of the iron, silver, and gold. That's saying this person, you have performed a service for me that is, or you have done something, or are someone who is so important to me that I will give you this ring, and you can call upon the promise that this ring symbolizes at any time for literally anything, and I will fulfill it.
yeah, which
It's
kinda reminds me of
beautiful.
no, it was dope. It kind of reminds me of like if you've ever seen The Count of Monte Cristo, when Luis Guzman's character, his life is saved, and he says, "I am your man." It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah. The Ring of Bone, it's like it's a promise of servitude, but just on like a single occasion rather than a swearing fealty. It's I if you need me for something, call on me and I will be there for you.
Yeah, which I really like that whole storyline too. Up until it like ended because the mayor is a prick.
Oh, he is. What was in Lady Lackless's box?
I don't know. But the idea is that Kavoth is a Lackless or something. And so,
No.
Yeah,
Kof is a Demaroo down to his bones. I'm sorry, but
who's to say that somewhere down the line?
Well, no. I would have to say that the Lackless box is probably something to do with the Chandrian. Just like the four-plated door is rather obviously, in my mind, something to do with the Emir.
I think you might be right.
Like maybe it's
otherwise
the remains of Lanra's wife.
Yeah. Well, otherwise, why make a big deal out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Silverama had another question, and before we go too far down the currency rabbit hole, I wanted to.
Very Silverama.
Yeah. What's that? Okay. Silverama asks, is Nirn infinite? Which I think is a great question. What do you think?
Okay, I'm going to chime in here. I would say that if you trust, I'm going to say no. But if you listen to what Mankar Cameron says, and he does make some sense, that Nirn is Lorcan's Daedric plane. It should be infinite, but it isn't because of a few different contributing factors. I would say the death of Lorcan being one of the death of Lorcan being one of them, and the presence of the Earthborns being another. I think they've kind of imposed limitations on what is essentially just another plane of oblivion to make it not a plane of oblivion.
Well,
if you kind of understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Similar to that, I would say Nirn the planet is not infinite.
Okay.
Mundus the plane is.
See, but then we get down into the whole rabbit hole of are the planes actually planets, or is that just mortal perception of them? Because we can't, as mortals, we can't perceive infinity, so our brain just kind of replaces this incomprehensible thing with something that we can comprehend, and that's why they look like planets.
Yeah, they're infinite planes that we interpret to be planets.
Nirn is the mortal planet.
Yeah.
It is a place designed for mortality. So I can't really see something like that being infinite. The space it exists in, the mundus as a whole, that I can see stretching to infinity, like our own universe does, but the planet of Mundus itself, I would say, has a definite area.
Its infinitude, I would argue, is manifested not in space but in time because of kalpas.
Oh.
Until the
that-
death of Alduin, and then
does that-
things get funky.
Does that give way to the multiverse theory?
Oh yeah, you could go that way too. Well, that's
There's
yeah,
infinite
especially
kalpas and there's infinite realities, right?
yeah. So it's originally it was kalpas, and then the Morakati did their dance, and they broke Akka really, really bad, and then you ended up with a multiverse, and so then that's where the true infinity expresses itself, because the Kalpic system with the death of Alduin is now broken, and what you get is what you're going to get. There's no resetting the clock anymore. So the true infinitude is in the multiverse.
Very cool.
It's kind of cool. I dig it.
Yeah. It's complicated. I'm trying to wrap my head around it while also kind of.
Well, think of it this way. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inception.
I have, yes.
Okay, so time is weird in dreams,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And in the mythology of Inception, the further down into the subconscious you go, the longer time exists subjectively over against the objective reality of the dreamer. So when you get all the way down into the depths, it's infinite time. I forget what they called that in the movie, but yeah. So it would be something like that. Yeah, Dan, we're talking about crazy time, infinity stuff, and multiverse. It's good fun.
Yay.
So I'm of the mind that Nurn itself is finite. It is
Right.
It's a planet like any other, and I think it's got four main continents, right? Yokuda, Tamriel, Atmora, and Akavir. But Yokuda and Akavir aren't straightforward. They are representations of what the dreamer is interpreting as incoming stimuli, right? And so it may not be the actual Akavir or the actual Yokuda. It is the dreamer's interpretation of that.
I would just like to say that in my opinion, you should be including Atmora in that little subgroup as well.
Well, the thing with Atmora is Atmora is a little more nuanced than that. And I consider Yokuda and Akavir to be pretty nuanced already, but Yokuda or not Yokuda, Atmora is nuanced in a different sort of way because it is not a dream in and of itself. It is a collective interpretation of dawn and the time before, when time was not moving, it was frozen, it was desolate, it was cold.
Right.
And man could not survive here because what are we supposed to do with ourselves, right? Whereas Myr see the same sort of thing as Aldmeris. This is when we're infinite, we're timeless, we are everything and we are nothing all at the same time, right? So the elves or the Altmeri perspective sees we are everything. The Manish perspective says we are nothing. We cannot live. So that's the difference between Aldmeris and Atmora. The only difference between Aldmeris and Atmora is that Atmora actually exists, whereas Aldmeris is a collective memory of a time when we were all together. Aldmeris is just Tamriel.
Right.
Yeah,
It's an idea.
I'm not entirely certain that I would agree with that, but
I do want to point out vis-a-vis Atmora that there is a great quote somewhere in Skyrim that says Skyrim, or that to be a Nord, you have to change your mind. It's like 5 or 7 times an hour lest it freeze.
Yeah.
And that's, we thought that was a reference to Skyrim, but it's probably a reference to Atmora.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
I agree.
something water is memory, frozen memory is inflexible and unchangeable,
Yeah.
and that led to frozen minds, etc.
Something Atmora was stolen from the elves.
So the idea that Andrew's talking about is an idea that Lorebeards have been talking about for a while, that Atmora and Aldmeris are the same place,
Mhm.
but they're remembered differently.
Yeah.
Humans on some level accept creation maybe only as a way to transcend and become something more, a la Talos, whereas the Aldmer reject it completely. Only the Khajiit love it, but I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that it's the same thing, but the Dunmer or the Aldmer remember it differently.
Yeah.
For them, it's the oh, things used to be so great back in the 1950s. I mean, Aldmeris, and
so I did want to point out
If I can butt in here real quick.
Sure.
I was actually having a pretty large discussion about this over the course of this week, and we kind of really came to the realization that not only was Aldmeris or Aldmeris and Atmora just a philosophical difference, but we could properly state them as the two different sides of Plato's cave, whereas the Mer are all about return, preventing any change, just return to how they were. When men are, the ones who have seen the knowledge, they want to share it, and the Mer want to, it's literally the men are the returning prisoner to the cave. They are the existential threat to the Merish existence.
interesting.
Yeah, the Thalmor philosophy can be described as doom drum bad, basically. Not messing with you.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
My whole thing is that the Altmore are essentially homeostasis reasserting itself. It's the group who didn't want change striking back at the change at Ada, which technically humans are. We are, or men rather are, we are wandering Elnofe. We are change at Ada.
Yeah.
so what's the deal with the Hist anyway? Like, are they from outside the dream? I've heard that's the common theory.
The common theory, yes. According to the annotated Anuad, it talks about the 12 worlds of creation and how the Elnofe come from one and the Hist come from another.
So are these different dreams, or are they several different alternate Nerns from?
There are
nobody knows. Okay.
Interpretations.
Yes,
I would assert
no.
they're entirely different worlds, personally.
Yeah. Well,
But some people think they never existed outside of the dream. Some people think they are without the dream.
Yeah. Well, someone in the Dream Sleeve and in the Elder Scrolls lore group on Facebook suggested that the 12 worlds of creation are the 12 main systems of the human body.
Interesting.
Yeah, we discussed this
right?
the other week when I was here.
Yeah. We discussed this last time about 2 weeks ago. Let me see if I can pull it up here. So which
one would Nern be?
Well, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull it up here because it was really great. I'm on the group.
Okay, just while you're looking for that, Andrew, I just need to say goodbye because time-wise for me, I really need to be getting off. So
all right, Edmund.
Fine.
It was great to be here for a while I could be, and I will.
Be that way, Ed.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I still haven't slept.
Oh
so,
my God. Go to bed, man.
I
See you around,
remember those
Devin.
days.
Go
You
rest,
rem-
buddy.
Andrew, I am older than you. Like, you can't say I remember those days as if I'm acting as if I'm a young person doing what I used to do back in the day. I am older than you.
Go to
Let's
bed,
feel this pain.
Grandpa.
Night, Evan.
Yes,
Man,
yes. Good night, everybody. Great to be here, and I'll
Hey, night, night.
see you all next time.
Good to
Blessings.
see you, Connor.
Good
Good
night.
to see you, man.
Night.
So anyway,
Sorry I was only able to pop in this late, Edmund. Hopefully next time I see you later.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've been lurking and I've been loving this discussion. I love it when it gets into metaphysics.
yeah.
Well, you're in the right.
It's good fun.
So-
Yeah.
So I found the post for the different. So the 12 systems of the body are the endocannabinoid system, which this person, Jordan Flores, I don't know if you
Oh,
see
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Jordan's good people.
he says
In the immortal words of the great philosopher Seth Rogen, dude, weed, Lamau.
yeah, he says that's the hist. And the cannabinoid system is the hist. We got the respiratory system, which could be kine, the digestive system, the endocrine system, the exocrine system, the sensory system, the renal system, nervous, reproductive, debella.
Hold up. What if, since we're saying that the planets are some of the other planets,
Yeah,
maybe
maybe.
worlds. Maybe the expiratory could be like what's the ash pits, Malakath's place, because he's
Maybe. I mean, a lot of this is super up for interpretation.
or by extension Trinimac.
Yeah. Let's say nervous system, productive system, cardiovascular system, muscular skeletal system, and the lymphatic or immune system. That's 12. So that was something that he noticed, 12 and 12.
Which one is Nern? I didn't say.
And an amalgam of all of the above, I suppose.
Right, because Nern is Nern is the 12 broken pieces put together.
Right.
Yeah. So
But which one is which part is the one that the Elnathay came from?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
don't know.
I mean, I'm going off of.
It's all really fuzzy.
It's a very new idea.
It's incredible.
I've never.
I've
been a. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it's absolutely it's a fascinating idea, and Jordan's idea. He says for funsies. So endocannabinoid system could be the hist, respiratory system could be Killereth, digestive system could be Akatosh, which I guess makes sense, like cycles, that kind of thing.
The dragon eating his stone toe, the Ouroboros.
Yeah, the endocrine system is RK. I'm not sure how he arrived at that. The integumentary system is Nern.
All
right. Sensory system is Debella. See, I would have made the reproductive system Debella.
That could be Mara.
Is this Mara supposed to be the motherhood?
Yeah, well, renal system is Zenithar. Nervous system is Julianos. Reproductive system, yes, is Mara. Cardiovascular system is Shazar. Muscle skeletal system is Ifre, which makes a lot of sense.
The cardiovascular with Shazar makes sense because it's the heart of Lorcan.
Yeah, well, then the cardiovascular system, or no, the musculoskeletal system as Ifre, the earth bones, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. The lymphatic and immune system is Stendar, and the magical system, which is the 13th, as Magnus. So, yeah, if we're taking the 13 constellations, right, the 12 and 1.
I'm firmly of the belief that the illicit spectra that Magnus' daughter Meridia was consorting with Lorcan, and they were kind of getting it on. So he was like, all right, if you're gonna consort with that guy.
Yeah.
It's really deep fanfic tier shit.
Yeah, so I mean, and I mean, that is by no means authoritative, but it is an interesting idea to consider.
Yeah.
And the reason that she's so bratty in Skyrim, like how she's constantly pestering you once you pick up the beacon, it's textbook daddy issues, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm actually making a Meridia mod, so.
So something we usually like to do in these casual lore chats, and you've already asked one question, Minor Man. But we like to focus on the people who have never been here before. If you've never been here before, then you get the floor. You get to decide what the topic is. And then
is it the tiled floor, a carpeted floor? Get like any rugs or anything? What's going on here?
Dealer's choice.
No, but to be serious, like I kind of want to talk about. Well, I guess this actually kind of ties together because some of the stuff in the Mythic Dawn commentaries, but either Lig or.
Oh man, Lig is.
Or the Magna Gay. Is it Magna Gay or Magna Gay? I can't.
No, whatever. I mean, with things like the sassy, pronounce that however you want, no matter what. We're all doing it wrong. Magna Gay, I imagine, is the same deal. Pronounce it however you want. We're all still pronouncing it wrong.
Right.
So it's like it's not worth worrying about. The Magnum Gay. Yeah.
Your mom has the Magnum Gay.
But Lig is
for Mother's Day. Perfect.
Lig is a big bucket of fuck.
So are the Druid like the human equivalents there, or are they like the people with the buildings and the the mortals, you know?
Yeah. So the drag would effectively be the people of Lig.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. The people, the mortals.
So I know both the guys who are involved with writing all the more recent Lig stuff. The problem, for the lore in general. They were given the go ahead by Michael Kirkbride.
Huh. Because of contact with them?
Yeah. The thing is, they're not super great about making information easily accessible. I have tried to ask them pointedly, tell me about Lig, and instead it turns into like inside jokes. And they won't give anyone a straight answer. They know the answer, and it's obvious that they know it. But
the apple doesn't really fall far from the tree, then.
Yeah. So it's as much as I can figure.
Seeing as these are MK's goons.
Yeah, I mean the dreg are the dominant life form in this. Whether it's a dream, whether it's a continent, I don't fucking know.
The universe of a continent.
Yeah, maybe it was a previous Kalpa.
The coffee stained underside of Nirn.
Yeah, whatever that means. There's that, but then it also ties into like Magna Gay, the Magna Gay pantheon. If you've ever read that,
I've tried.
All the cosmology there is relevant to Lig.
Right.
I actually, sorry to interrupt. I actually had a theory that was the Druid pantheon.
Yeah, well, like the Chrome device, for example.
Yeah.
One of them told me the Chrome device is the Lig equivalent of Numidium.
Oh.
That's what he told me.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. So, I've got.
It could be Magnus too, because talked about the Chrome device being Meridia's father. So
yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, I know a lot more about Lig than the layperson.
It probably isn't a 1-to-1 thing, honestly.
It really isn't. It's
but I do think that the Chrome device is Magnus, but otherwise I don't think there's many equivalents because these are like Magna Gay. In my opinion, it's something else.
Who knows? And I mean, I make this.
I mean, to tell the dirty little secret here, none of it's real.
Yeah. That's something I point out more often than anything else. But I mean, if you ever see my comments on test lore about this, I make it very clear that I have no fucking clue what the hell I'm talking about. I know bits and pieces. Here's the general gist.
It's like learning it's like learning Klingon or something, but non-linguistic.
I feel like I'm learning lore the way people learn languages while they sleep. I'm just absorbing it without knowing what it is.
Right.
Okay. Okay, guys.
I'm like the mom who puts the mom who puts the headphones on. The pregnant woman who puts the headphones on her belly.
Hold on. What do you got, Michael?
Okay. So, yeah, I write link stuff too. And what I'm going to say is,
Michael.
What? Huh? What?
I'm guessing you're not the Michael.
No,
not Michael Kirkbride. No.
No, that's Michael Ziegler.
Yeah, I'm the crazy Khajiit guy. You know how there's like in every neighborhood there's a crazy cat lady? Well, in the lore community, I'm the crazy cat guy.
He's our Michael.
So sorry.
Okay, so everything I'm about to say is probably wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. So Lig,
right there. I know that I know nothing.
That's exactly. Lig is untime in the unplace. It's the shadow of Tamriel, which means that it is.
Okay, hold on. Sorry for interrupting. I just had an epiphany. So if it's untime in the unplace, and Atmora is untime in a positive place, and if we're going off the theory that Aldmeris isn't in fact Atmora but not, and is actually like some constantly shifting time without space, and then wouldn't that make Lig like the version of that's in like the negative quadrant? If we're looking at the graph,
I would explain it that Lig is absolute ephemerality. If Atmora is where everything is set, Lig is where everything isn't set. So, like, if you were to pierce the limit between Lig and Tamriel and go to Lig, when you see it, it will be completely different if you go in a different place or a different time. Now there are some things perhaps that are similar, but it is complete chaos. It's never the same. Now, for the people who live there, it probably makes sense, but from a mind coming from Tamriel, it won't. It never makes sense.
It's like that. It's like, what was that movie? Arrival, right? Where they had the big land octopus aliens that come and teach you their language that allows you to time travel or something.
Yeah, that's you're getting there.
Weird that it doesn't really make sense. That it doesn't really make any sense. You have to be in that frame of mind.
Yeah, you're getting there. You're getting there. Having said that, for the people who live in Lig, there is a coherent here and a coherent when, but not from somebody who's coming from outside of Lig. Yeah. So when I say that Lig is the shadow.
Oh, sorry.
When I say that Lig is the shadow of Tamriel, I'm thinking in terms of the Jungian shadow, which if you haven't studied,
right, yeah,
it's good stuff.
So that's actually something I'm incorporating in my Meridia mod because
good, very good.
It's the villain.
But it's the idea that everything that there's a shadow side to everybody, and there are things
it's
that
what you don't want to be.
Yeah, there's two aspects of the human mind, or the human self, is that there's the persona, which is who you want to appear to be everybody, and there's the shadow, which is the dark side of yourself that you don't want anybody to see. Lig is the shadow.
And sometimes it creeps through, and that's sort of the mythiopoeic thing, because if a bunch of people just think it is a way, then it starts to become that way. Sort of the Mandeling thing, too. Walk like them till they walk like you.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas right now.
And so, in my mind, anything that comes from Lig into our world looks really freaky. Because, I mean, if you look at a drag, you're like, what is that? And so anything coming from Lig would be like Cthulhu. Or,
right, exactly.
Yog Sothoth or something like that. Because it's a completely... different way of being.
Maybe that's why Molag Bal seems so evil to us.
I like what Silence put in chat here. Another idea is that Lig is the patchwork remains of the Kalpas collected by the Leaper Demon King.
Ooh.
They're collected. They're the little bits that got stitched together into a halfway world inhabited by strange amalgams of man and crustacean.
That's good. That's very good.
I dig it.
Who wrote that?
That's fucking
Excellent, bro.
yeah.
That's
Like it.
awesome.
If you see the Dreg in Morrowind, they've got 4 arms. One of those arms has a giant like crab claw looking thing on it, right? And then the other like 3 arms are normal people arms.
Right. It's
And then they've got like the 4-legged squid kind of underside.
Mhm.
it's
Yeah, I mean, like the people of a patchwork realm would be patchwork themselves.
Yeah.
They're people made up of like the little bits of people from previous Kalpas, sort of glued together.
Yeah. That's actually really sweet. I think I dig
interesting
that.
concept. Very interesting.
At least that's how they're perceived when they come to Tamriel. In their own native when, their own native where, they'd be however. But that's how the people of Tamriel perceive them when they come here.
Yeah. Well, more lens of perception stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's you know, how does a mind interpret the dreams it's forgotten?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Dreams are weird.
Yeah.
So is Anu like a real person in the above world or whatever?
I think so.
Well,
We're getting into like some dream physics stuff,
right? Yeah, 'cause it's not.
which is kind of my wheelhouse. I like to think. I wrote a piece. I don't know if you've read it. Dreams, Perceptions, and Other Philosophies, and I talk about how Anu, Yokuda, and Akavir are 3 dreams by 3 distinctly different dreamers, 3 different people. Which makes sense in an anthropomorphic sense, right, on a larger scale. But the idea is that Yokuda is the dream of somebody. I just call him Ald Amaranth because that's what makes sense to me. Tamriel is the dream of Anu. I usually put that in all caps or call him Ald Anu, as an old Anu.
Hey, old Anna's over there napping away, never wakes up.
Yeah.
What a busy bum.
And then Akavir is the dream of Jubal, who is born of Anu's dream, right? So Anu is born of Ald Amaranth's dream. Jubal is born of Anu's dream.
So if you sailed over to Yokuda, you could find some sleeping guy named Anu, and then it would be
not necessarily, because the main thrust of this essay that I wrote is that you have these 3 dreamers, and they're talking to each other somehow. They're communicating, and so the
Akavir that you can access from Tamriel isn't necessarily the same Akavir that you could access.
Exactly. So Anu sees an Akavir. Okay, I interpret this Akavir, and I'm interpreting this other dream that's going on over here. And here's what I understand of it.
Because sometimes when you're actually dreaming, you can read people's thoughts almost. You can tell what they're thinking.
Yeah. So I'm gonna metaphorize because this doesn't make sense to me in a raw format. I have to kind of
happening in my dream anyway.
Yeah. So in Akavir, which is born of love, right? The marriage between Jubal and Vivek. You have Akavir, the flower, and Toshraka, the flower child. They come over. They're trying to spread their love to Tamriel, but Anu.
I think Vivek's trying to spread more than just his love. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I know what you mean. So Anu, who lives in a world of grief and pain and sadness and regret, he sees this, these ideas coming over, trying to spread their love. And how does someone who is chronically abused, how do they interpret love? They interpret it as hostility, right? Oh, you must be trying to fuck me over. In
This
some
is a
way.
trap somehow.
You're
Yeah.
a snake. I mean, you're a snake trying to.
Exactly. So
You're just gonna eat me in the end.
so the Akaviri come over, the Seisi, they come over, and they're warlike people, and they're trying to invade, and they're trying to do this and that and the other thing, and it's all hostile because that's all Anu knows. Love does not make sense to him, and so the first Akaviri invasion, during the just before the Riemann dynasty.
Maybe that's why a lot of Akaviri stuff and kind of looks like Morrowind stuff because they're both similar. I don't know. I'm just.
I don't know. But I mean that's why it's interpreted so in a hostile way, because Anu doesn't know what to do with this positive, loving kind of thing. Now, from the Akaviri, the true Akaviri perspective, from Jubal's dream, they go, yeah, we're doing these missions and we're trying to spread our love and we're being benevolent and whatever. But as soon as you cross that threshold from one dream to another, that changes, and they don't even necessarily know that because they are now a part of the mind they've occupied, right? And that means they're being interpreted by that mind. So any benevolence they had is now being reinterpreted, retranslated into something else, whatever that mind in particular understands, which Anu understands grief, pain, conflict. That's how that works. And so if you were to say you existed in Jubal's dream and you're looking back at Tamriel, you would see this world fraught with despair, and you'd say, why?
What if the history are the result of Anu's allergies? What if the history are something that's triggering Anu's allergies? That hence histamine.
I mean, I guess that could be a thing, but I doubt it.
It's stupid, but
I mean, a lot of people get upset with me, especially on Tesla, because I consider the dream itself, capital D dream, to be a normal dream, like what you or I would have when we're going to bed on a Tuesday a Tuesday evening, like.
Only a Tuesday evening, though. Never like a.
Whatever day. Tuesday was the first day came to mind. Yeah.
Could I just draw attention to the whole thing that you mentioned about Anu and his inability to properly comprehend love, or rather his perversion of. Okay, so this, for whatever reason, that just strikes me. I remember Tiber Septim Talos, whatever you want to call him at that point, how he talking to his Red Legion and exerting.
Show you the power of Crown.
Meanwhile, this is.
I do this for you, Red Legions, because I love you.
Exactly. And meanwhile, by all rights, listen, Talos was man's man. He was a shitty piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now,
meanwhile, the biggest proclamation of love that we have in this series comes from this actual piece of human garbage.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. So
that really does show that Anu has issues with the very concept of love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Talos was an orc at one point.
Of this game series.
What's that? I can see that. Talos was a little bit of everything at some point. He's just goddamn.
I mean, he's everything. I mean, he's Dragonborn. He's Shezarene. He's
He's a very
and then he managed to
if you believe Steroid Legend, he's inhabited by Magnus.
In someone else's dream.
One at a time.
I managed to lucid dream in someone else's dream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bear in mind that Talos is born of Anu's dream. So any prejudices, anything that Anu understands is going to be something that informs Talos's life. Right? He's going to be informed by those prejudices that Anu has, conflict and whatever else. but yeah, I feel like that love is a little it's a little different than the capital L love that Vivek talks about in the sermons. And I think my buddy Felix, he mostly focuses on like Yokuden and Redguard lore. He wrote his own coda called Aria with a 1, AR1A. And that I think in there he suggests that the reach heaven by violence is how the current dreamer Anu reached his dreaming state. He approached Amaranth through violence, whereas Vivek and Jubal approach it by love, right? So violence being a major part of Anu's dream, because that's how he got there, right?
I mean, it is an action game series. I mean, it's also an RPG, but there's a lot of action elements. So it's like...
Yeah. So, I mean, just a lot of different things kind of throwing their towels in here. Yeah, it gets really interesting. If you haven't read Dreams, Perceptions, and Other Philosophies, it's on the Telmore Independent Press's website. I highly suggest you take a look at it.
All right.
And then on top of that, there's also another piece that I co-authored. Me and Mac McGee. We wrote a piece called.
It sounds like a subtitle or something.
What's that?
Rhymes. Me and Mac McGee.
Oh yeah. No. We wrote a piece called "The Transubstantiation of Anu," and we looked at the entire dream, trying to figure out who the dreamer was, and we decided to look at it through a lens of transgender issues. And so, well, what if the dreamer is transgender? What can we look at to kind of support this idea? What things can we pull out that really make sense? And so we figured Talos is a huge self-insert character about who the dreamer believes they should be, right? They're supposed to be so masculine and so they're a warrior king and that kind of thing, because that's what masculinity is. But then there's Vivek, the other self-insert character, who's androgynous and the magical hermaphrodite, and constantly addresses himself as in a male sort of pronoun sense. But then in Coda, that's the first time we see Vivek as a woman. And so
I saw some kind of comments on this in ESO by saying that Vivek wants to be everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And so
in the end, he can only be Vivek.
Yeah. So we discuss how Vivek and Vivek's change from male to female is the dreamer's acceptance of her own identity as a transgender woman, and it was really interesting to look through the lore through this lens, and just find bits that are.
So what you're saying is that Chris Chan is the dreamer?
Oof. Just without the the pierced taint that got infected. And
does that would that make Padme the damn dirty trolls?
Ow. Well, let's see. I was being a damn dirty troll myself at one point. I wore the Jigglyami medallion at one point. It's on video. I was involved in that shit. Christian and all that. Like, I'm not terribly proud of it, but it's a thing that happened. I knew the guy who played Blanca Weiss. In fact, I was responsible for.
I mean, you're talking about self-insert characters and all of that. And
oh yeah. No.
I've been catching up.
Yeah.
I've been catching up on my Christery recently, anyway, so it came to mind.
Christery, that's a word I haven't heard in years. Let's see. Off that piece, never cry. Mike wasn't involved in that one. Damn, that was me and Mac McGee, who's in the Dream Sleeve. He's
Why the
one of
fuck did I write Mike? Sorry.
I don't know. I mean,
Sorry, Mac. I love you.
Mike Steer and we talk a lot about Kristen Weston Chandler on occasion in our Facebook chat.
Go, Narphalagus, go out and zap to the extreme.
Yeah, thank you, Father. I will. Yeah, no, I was very privy to. There are pages that mention me on Encyclopedia Dramatica, so.
Well, I know what I'm researching this weekend.
That's the thing. Yeah, there's a nude picture of me actually on Encyclopedia Dramatica, which I think is actually really funny because I dyed my pubes pink, like bright pink.
Okay,
Live,
first question.
The
Why?
The best, well, because I thought it would be funny, and
It is.
everyone thought that my girlfriend at the time convinced me to do it, but it was absolutely my idea.
Just a joke.
Yeah, and so my girlfriend at the time, she took a picture of me sitting on the toilet playing my DS. I was playing Pokemon, and you can see my pink pubes like on my butt. You can't see like my dick or anything, so it's like. What the fuck do I care? I'm naked otherwise, but it's yeah, it makes me laugh. So yeah, if you look up the Legion article with a 0 instead of an O.
Stop trying to plug your nudes. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not looking it up.
I'm just saying.
We don't care about how big your dick isn't. So just.
That you can't see it anyway. So. Yeah, I was like 21 at the time, so that was like 8 years ago.
We all do the mental math in our head.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I mean, you all have to know how old I am first.
Well, you said 21, which was 9 years ago. So.
Yeah, it was 8 years ago. I'm 29.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're old men. We're old men.
Yeah.
We're old men. Oh God, we're old men.
Michael left, but yeah. Love you, Michael.
Yeah, I'm
It's my favorite new theory that are new is actually Chris Chan. It's canon. Coda makes it canon.
That actually makes a lot of sense, if I'm being honest.
What?
Sorry, y'all. I was tuning out for a bit, but I'm back. You might. Are we talking about anything in particular?
We're talking about how the Dreamer is actually Chris Chan.
You get the video off of that.
Well, I don't agree, but that's okay.
No, the bit where he ran over this PS3, that was my favorite thing.
I'm not a fan of Pikachu Sonic, I'll say that much.
Yeah, Sonichu.
His downfall was truly...
Haven't you read any of your Christory?
That one day, that one fateful day when he won all that Sonic shit.
So Minor, were you ever on 7/8 at all?
I just know stuff.
Okay, because we used to have a board like we were the Chris Chan dedicated board for a while. 789 Chan. I was an admin on there. And then they tried turning me into a lol cow, but like I'm not ridiculous, so I flipped out at one point because it was a stupid shit, and then they were like, oh, he's a lol cow now, but yeah.
We all have our sword out moments. It's
no, I mean it's like whatever, but
can I ask y'all Elder Scrolls question?
Or Google Hangout.
Yes, Elder Scrolls, let's go.
My buddy asked me a question. I'm gonna ask it on her behalf. She was wondering about. Well, I guess she wanted to know a bit about mixed race people in Elder Scrolls in general, but I'll take it a step farther. What traits stick with a person? Like, I know racially, it's the mother who decides. Well, it's the mother who the child ends
That
up
might just
looking
be
like.
legal classification, actually.
Yeah.
It may not be the case.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Or also legal, but also in the sense of like character creation, just an easy guide to, hey, if you want to do that, then that's that. But
well, I mean,
Yeah,
because here's the thing: the only thing that I consider the most accurate about the book "Racial" or Notes on Racial Phylogeny and Biology is that the mother dictates the overall appearance,
yeah,
and that has to do with the water in the womb, which has to do with the ideology of the race
and memory, because it's
and memory.
memorizing her
Yeah.
race.
Yeah, this is racial memory and therefore ideology.
But does that? But like the characteristics of the person, like I guess in the science world as we live in,
Yeah.
I've found out that behavior can be genetic as well. Do you think that ties in as well? Like the child may act like the father?
I mean, that
if
gets
he's
into
around,
like
then probably.
dominant and recessive traits and nature versus nurture, and I am not nearly.
Personality and stuff like that is very much more
The genetics even work like that.
based on environment than genetics.
Yeah, I mean, there's so
Okay.
much there that I'm not informed enough on real world theory to really answer, because, like I said, we've got
Fair enough.
dominant and recessive genes. So we know that, like, having red hair, that's a recessive gene. And so it's often dominated by other genes, right? So that's why people say that redheads are going to be extinct in like 50 years or whatever, right? Because it's a recessive gene.
Right.
And then like nature versus nurture. This is an issue that people have been arguing about for centuries, because we have our genetics. How much of the personality is genetic, right? Your stubbornness or your
Or also just like hereditary diseases.
well,
could be a thing.
that too. And I am not nearly as well versed as I'd like to be on that to really give you a definitive formal answer.
I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's generally assumed that, well, certain diseases are hereditary, or there's a higher chance of you getting it if you're father or
There are
mother
definitely
has it.
diseases that are passed down through gene mutations.
Sorry, I didn't catch the beginning of that.
Definitely diseases that are passed down through things like gene mutations. And there are certain genes that give you a good likelihood of developing particular conditions. Like there are some genes that predispose people to things like breast cancer.
Yeah, or schizophrenia. Like if your father is schizophrenic, there's a chance you could become schizophrenic more likely than somebody else or something.
Well,
Anyway, we're kind of getting off topic.
take alcoholism, for example. A lot of people in my family, especially on my paternal side, a lot of people have dealt with alcoholism. And, well, every time we have one of these, I've always got a beer. And,
Yeah,
I always get a little tipsy.
I'm drinking with you tonight.
That's usually, I mean, I have like a beer a night. Honestly, like, I don't get wasted. I don't like to be drunk. I don't. And my dad is the same way, but his brother, my grandfather, his grandfather, they all struggled with alcoholism. And so is it that we're just genetically less inclined to be addicted to alcohol, or is it that we are aware of the fact that our genetics are predisposed to alcoholism, and so we are extremely careful because of that?
It could be a bit of both.
It could be, right? I love alcohol. I love it, but I love it in an artistic hobby sort of sense, right? I don't like to get drunk. I like the flavors. I like the nuance, right? Like this
But it's fun being drunk. Let's be honest.
Sometimes if I throw up, I'm way too drunk.
Yeah, wasted. We'll call it.
This is a barrel-aged gentleman's club ale, and it is delicious. I love it. I'm not gonna have another one after this because I don't. I've
I'm
got.
not really sure. Is
But-
gentleman's club like just slang for a strip club, or?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah,
It depends how drunk you are.
gentleman's club. It's a dry whiskey barrel-aged ale. Of Star City Brewing in Widmer Brothers. Widmer Brothers.
The lore.
Okay. Okay, I got a question since we're talking about racial stuff in the
Hell yeah.
Elder Scrolls. Bretons, obviously, they share some elven traits, like their affinity for magic and their magic resistance and their magic capabilities, but they look and act like men.
Mhm.
Is there any way that they act like elves?
So I like to think that
Listen to their accents. You can,
the Bosmer are so genetically they hold the ideology of the Altmer, but in their raising, in how they're reared and child rearing and all that, they are
Nurture.
they're
well, despite making up only 13% of the population, because you could commit more than 50% of crime. No,
oh, shut up. So they're nurtured in a mannish sense, but their nature is an elvish sense, right? And so eventually these two blend until you have a distinct race. That's how I see it. That's what's the word? The Bormahu, I think, is the etymologic term that comes before Breton.
So are Breton part Bosmer then, you're saying? Or are they more like Man and Aelid?
Dureni would be what it would be.
Sorry?
A Dureni is what it would be.
What elf
Well,
in
I
modern
don't
times?
really want to be Neil deGrasse Tyson though. Like, well, actually,
Like what elf are they mostly related to in the modern?
the Dureni, which are
yeah. Technically, the Dureni, which would be high elves.
High elves. Okay.
Have you heard of the High Elves?
Seen any elves? I
Hi, Silverleaf. Welcome.
Was that line in Morrowind?
Yeah, that was Morrowind. Those
It's
Nords said it all the time.
a funny line considering it takes place in a majority elven country.
Yeah, it was said sarcastically, I think.
So let's
What
see.
an absolute legend.
We technically started at about what 8:15 or so.
What time zone were you in?
You were talking. I'm in the west coast.
All right.
So we started about 2 hours and 45 minutes ago, or no, 2.5 hours ago. I think now
So
it's
people in that time zone, when they get angry, do they get pissed off? I won't see myself out.
PST off. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna end it there.
Okay.
We will reconvene 2 weeks from now. I'm not doing these weekly. I'm gonna do these bi-weekly. So thank you to everyone who showed up. I love having these.
Yeah, bi-weekly is a good choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeps it fresh.
I'm glad I could finally show up to one of these things. And
so-
usually when these things happen, I'm at my dad's house, so it's complicated.
So I'm gonna try and go through and I mean the issue's gonna come first, but after I finish this episode, I'm gonna try and go through and leave timestamps for different topics we're talking about. 5 or 6.
Oh, that's smart.
Like upload this to YouTube or something.
What's that?
upload it to YouTube or something? Or,
Yeah. So right now we're live. We're live streaming.
Right.
And so that's why I use Hangouts, because it's a really easy, through YouTube I can just
you're
live
streaming it?
Yeah, I can live stream automatically, and then when I'm done, it's over, and then it's up on YouTube. It's already there. It's already done. I don't gotta worry about it. So I can go through and
I didn't give you my consent to upload this, dude. What are you doing?
Oh, I mean,
I'm joking.
it's like I'm like edit parts out, I guess.
I'm completely joking.
Yeah. All right. So I'll say
I didn't really say anything too incriminating, so.
Unless anyone's got anything else to add, I'm good.
Well, I think I might.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
It's
hey.
Lorechat. Y'all love your foul skooma cat, don't ya?
Yay.
All right. Well, let's tell y'all a story about your good pal Skooma Cat. Skooma Cat cheers up a friend. Now, good old Skooma Cat was wandering through the forest, doing as he will, when he ran across Mr. Dragon. Now, Mr. Dragon was a very, very sad man today for whatever reason. His friends all tried to cheer him up. Mara tried to lighten his attitude, but he just blew her off. Kenarthi tried to breathe joy into him, but it had no effect on Mr. Dragon. And then our good pal Skooma Cat came along to Mr. Dragon and decided he needs a joke. And Skooma Cat went up to Mr. Dragon and asked, "Do you know how much moon sugar it takes to satisfy Hircine's endless hunger?" Wow, that was garbage. Mr. Dragon responded, "I do not know the answer, insane one, so please tell me." Well, our good pal Skooma Cat, he snapped his finger and said, "Well, I was hoping you'd be able to tell me." That made Mr. Dragon laugh very, very, very hard until he cried. And from that tear, a cat came, and we called that cat Kunzari. Good job, Skooma Cat. Yee. All that and more you can find in the Elder Scrolls elsewhere.
Well, that was traumatic.
You guys don't have to...
What is that, an actual story from
Yes, I literally just did an actual story. Because
Legendary.
The Adventures of Skooma Cat.
Thank you, Connor.
Alright, guys. Have a nice night.
Have that nice 4 months now.
I'm gonna try.
Alright, see you next week. I love y'all.
I'm gonna be like the one sitcom character who drops in occasionally. Goodbye.
Fuck up.
Oh yeah. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Toodles.